welcome to a very special episode of Unsubscribe, the Demand Drive podcast. We're doing a mini podcast episode today with Aaron Browning. Aaron, say hi.
Hi, everybody.
Wait,
did you just call this thing Unsubscribe? Is that the name of the podcast?
Name of our podcast.
Yeah. You're going to give me just a quick rundown of why that is the case? Why that's the name?
It's ironic.
So that you can subscribe.
That's what I figured.
Unsubscribe.
Yeah,
okay.
You subscribe to
opt out podcast, something like that.
Yeah. The idea being that like we're giving you ways so that you can send emails and calls so that you don't get unsubscribed replies. It's, very meta.
Okay, it's the irony. Alex is right. Yes, that's fantastic.
But Alex and I were talking to Aaron today because we're following up on the symposium that we ran in February around cold calling best practices, and we wanted to get some compare contrast going, and we figured who better to talk with than Aaron, who just loves cold calling more than most people, I would say. You really broke it down in the last event that we had. So
love to hate. It's a necessary evil, right?
That's good. That's the whole point. It is necessary. It can be evil, but if you get it right and you really commit to it, sky's the limit.
Yeah, it's got to become like your foundation. You do it early enough when you're young, and you just realize that's just part of the building blocks. It's like it's table stakes. You got to do it.
Before we jump into it, I realized that guests might not know who you are. And so tell us a bit about you, your role, where you work, background, stuff like that.
Yeah, so Aaron Browning, VP of Sales at FrontSpin. I went to Cal, as you can see, so I'm always supporting Cal folks. FrontSpin is in the sales engagement space, ever crowded way on how you interact with your customers and prospects. And I'm in the Bay Area in California and loving that. And always happy to do stuff with Alex and AJ and the crew here. It's been they're so great, and they're such a great resource for SDRs. Whatever I can do to help, I'm all in.
Well, that was very nice. And most people, when they introduce themselves, don't also compliment us. So that was a first. Very nice.
Hey, I wouldn't be here without you guys, so I get it. And I wish when I was going up as an SDR, it'd be amazing to have this free resource to say, okay, how do I do this? And more than anything, it's like sharing stuff that sucks about the job, right? About with other people, because we know it sucks. We know how hard it is. And to have that kind of community, if you will, I just think it's amazing. So I have so much respect for what you guys are doing.
Well, thanks. Appreciate that. All right, let's kick this bad boy off. Some of the questions that we asked our panel around cold calling best practices, obviously from the SDR point of view, looking to get your point of view as someone who's been an SDR and sort of moved up the ladder. So starting off with question one, opening lines. Different for everyone based on industry, who you're talking to, but what do you think the best way to open up a cold call is? And if you don't keep it consistent, why?
I don't do anything special, and I do keep it consistent because it's back to this whole, what's the narrative of cold calling? It's just like, it's got to be like breathing. It's just something you got to do. And it's got to be almost robotic, because as good as you can be at a cold caller, if you only make 10 calls and I make 100 and I suck, I'm still going to beat you. Right. So it's still a numbers game. So I think there can be a robotic nature. I think it almost has to be, right? Because you're going to just do this thing over and over. So for me, I just keep it simple. It's always the quick intro. And most importantly, go slow. Not so slow that they think something's wrong with you, but the tendency is to go fast because you think they're going to hang up. Don't worry. If they're going to hang up, they're going to hang up anyway, right? So, or they're going to interrupt you anyway. So just go slow and get out your name and your title. And obviously you want to talk about after what you do, why you're calling. Now, the why you're calling, AJ and Alex, can be a lot of different things. I mean, you can, depending upon the industry and the title and everything else, and if you're going to talk about a case study quickly, or news, it could be anything, right? I use LinkedIn sometimes. So I may introduce myself and say why I'm calling, and then I might get into something I saw about them on LinkedIn, right? To try to make it really personalized. So it just kind of depends once you get past the intro, which way you want to go. But for me, the intro is always going to be the same.
Awesome. Love that answer. And I think it really does sort of point to the, we're moving into a modern stage of sales development. Obviously it's getting more personalized and everything, but at the end of the day, like, you have to cold call. It is a numbers game at some point. And, if they're going to hang up, they're going to hang up, but the more dials you make, the more conversations you're going to have. And from there, that's really how you can, grow as an SDR, even if you suck when you're first making calls.
And you could treat it just like, how would I introduce to someone if I walked up to you on the street, right? I mean, it's all this stuff, the element of cold calling or sales in general, it's still human. That's really what it is.
Yeah.
It's a lot like dating. It's a lot like relationships. So really what you want to do is be consistent across all that. And it's only going to serve you well. So if I go out and talk to strangers, which I do a lot because it helps me in my job, I'm going to kind of do the same thing when I call you on the phone. I'm going to be consistent, right? But it's all applicable. It all works together.
Yeah, awesome. Moving on to the second question here. And this one's, I think, especially important for SDRs and their role as far as passing leads over to AEs or down the funnel. How do you know when to close the call or ask for the meeting?
So this got a lot of variables, right? It depends your experience as an SDR. Depends what you're selling. Is it transactional versus enterprise? Am I setting an appointment? Am I setting a demo, right? There's all kind, am I BANT? Do I have to get into BANT before I can even pass that lead? So knowing that there's all these variables, I guess we can look at it a few different ways. If I'm a young SDR, if I'm coaching a young SDR, as soon as you get a nibble, book the meeting. Right. As soon as you get that person interested, don't waste their time anymore. You'll get a sense that there's interest. It may take you a little while intuitively to figure it out, but for the most part, you can tell if there's interest. Don't keep kicking the horse, right? Especially if you don't have the knowledge, because I've seen guys knowing they can get the appointment and then talk for another minute and they just lost it. Right? They lost the appointment. If it's me cold calling, I can take it all the way, right? I can go all the way as far as I want to go. If I'm a mid-level SDR with experience, then maybe you do get through the band. Maybe you kind of do that. So I really think it depends what stage you are as a rep, and obviously kind of, what you're selling, transactional versus enterprise. But if I had to give kind of one answer, I'm going to say, do it early. Do it as soon as you get that initial interest, go right for the appointment, and then let someone else take it. And don't give them a chance to say no after you kind of know they're going to say yes.
That's interesting because it's pretty much what I think our panel mostly agreed on when we asked them this question from the SDR point of view, is that as soon as you get to the point where they've maybe asked a question that you feel like is sort of more appropriate for an AE or a full cycle rep or whatever to answer on a demo or appointment or whatever, or you sense that there is interest and they've mentioned something that you can help solve, or a challenge they can overcome, like that's the moment when you're like, great, they've hit a certain level, I can go ahead and book the meeting now and focus on either like that extra complication later or something of that part.
Yeah, the question, sorry,
AJ,
AJ, the question one actually kind of sucks because when they ask you that question, they want the answer right now, right? And then you kind of have to, I would hate to be an SDR that, and I've had them do this, they almost kind of lie and say, oh, let me use this as an opportunity to book a meeting. I really don't like that. I'd rather have you give me the answer. At the same time, I get it. They got to book the appointment. I would lean towards being honest. I don't know that answer. I'm going to book the appointment that way, or I've got it for you. I'm going to answer it. I'm going to hope that's positive and you still want to do a meeting, right? Because I don't want to ever.
You can't lie. That's,
yeah, you can't. But it's easy to. It's easy to use as an excuse, right? Right, to get the meetings.
Yeah,
we know reps do it. So, but yeah.
Very true. I think the biggest thing that and it's like a point in your career as an SDR where it kind of clicks, where like I would do exactly what you said, like, oh, I don't know the answer, let me just use it to set up an appointment, easy. Right. But you get to a point where you do know the answer and you don't want to lie to them, but you don't necessarily think that if you have that opportunity to pass it, so you have to. So like I got to the point where I was saying stuff like, listen, I can give you an answer. It's from my point of view. I don't use the product every day. I'm not an AE. I can give you what you want now, but I know you'll get a better answer if you talk to my AE in an appointment, whatever it might be.
Let's actually ask.
Level of honesty is great.
Let's ask this question a different way. What do you think AEs and managers are telling the reps to do?
The former. Just get me. I think most AEs are like, just get me the meeting if you can. I'll figure it out from there.
Right. Don't answer those questions. Just give me right. Yeah, and that's why this is tough, right? The SDR has a manager, and they work for the AE, which is a pseudo manager, which they may or may not like. God forbid they don't like their manager or their AE. Then it's like, what am I even doing here, right? So it's once again, it comes back to how hard this job is and how good you have to be at kind of managing not just the prospects, but maybe a couple different managers and what their thoughts are about when you send a lead. So at the end of the day, I'm hopeful that all SDRs can just do right by the prospect. Do right by the client. Once again, if you met this person in person on the street or whatever, how would you treat them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that also like you said, you don't want to lie to the prospect. And it honestly, like, I think there's a fear of giving too much transparency that a lot of SDRs have. And like, you can understand where it comes from, right? Especially if the AA is like, just book the meeting. I'll explain everything to them. You don't need to explain all this because they don't want you to mess up. But if you're if you're open and transparent about it, which is basically, Adrian, what that answer you just gave was, where it's like, look, I have an answer. Even like, here is my answer, but I know that this person on my team knows way more about it. I think they'll appreciate that a lot more than if you're like, sorry, I just started here, talk to my AE, right? Like something like that. That's clearly like, maybe don't use that sort of fib.
Yeah, I think you just got to really sit down with you know what, my answer to this question just changed. I think you just make sure when you talk to your AE a lot, you communicate a lot with your AE about all these scenarios you and I, all three of us, just talked about. What should I do if this happens? What should I do if this happens? And you guys should be able to come to an understanding of how to deal with these little variables that we're talking about. Because at the end of the day, if you make your AE happy, he or she's going to sing your praises, and that's going to help you get to that level or wherever you want to go.
True. Yeah, I really like that answer. Now that we've made you change it after talking about it.
That's okay. That's what we're doing here. We're not trying to say we have all the answers right away.
Exactly.
We're going to talk it out.
Listen, Aaron, I don't have all the answers. I'm going to have to talk to my manager. Real quick.
I don't. I can't do that on a podcast.
All right, let's move into question 3. This is about, if you don't get someone on the phone, voicemails. First of all, yay or nay in terms of leaving voicemails, and if you do leave them, what do they look like?
It's with the technology today, and I'll put a little, rub for FrontSpin. I mean, it's just so easy to leave these voicemails, right? You can pre-record them on the platforms. So now you have this nice pre-recorded voicemail. Back in the day, if I had to say the same thing 40 times, I mean, forget the last 20. I mean, it's going to suck because I'm saying the same thing 40 times. You're not going to sound good. You're not going to sound upbeat. So being able to pre-record it, and then marketing gets a hand in it from a brand perspective, because look, we know they're not going to listen to the whole message, but if they listen to part of it, that's okay. That's part of your brand. That's part of everything that's happening, the calls, the emails, everything that's going out. So I'm always of the belief now with the technology, leave them. And guess what? Because it's so easy to leave them, literally clicking a button, A/B test the crap out of it. So yeah, do some short and sweet ones, do some longer ones, because it's so easy to record them and it's so easy to leave them, because we're not in a vacuum here, guys. Everybody's business is different. Everybody's prospects are different. So it's so easy to try it that I would put in that time, because it's not much, to see if they work for you. But in the end, yeah, I'm a believer in leaving a voicemail because it's the technology.
Yeah, I like that. And that's a great answer. For me, honestly, I always leave a voicemail because that's how I keep talking. Like, there would be times like if I'm doing a bunch of no context and then somebody picks up the phone.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm flabbergasted, basically. Whereas like if I'm leaving a voicemail every time, it helps me stay prepared for when they do eventually pick up the phone. So yeah, I was always even before like the sort of like click to send voicemail technology existed, I was always a big fan of it. But yeah, if it's becoming even easier to do, I don't see why somebody wouldn't.
Yeah, you could track it all, what voicemails you're leaving, and send all this into reporting, and then marketing gets to play with that. So there's no downside to doing it anymore in my mind. So yeah, I'd say yes.
Cool. I like that. I'm also a fan of leaving. I didn't want to add anything else because I agree with what you've said. I think leaving voicemails is good. Like, even if you're just directing them somewhere else, if you're like, hey, listen, I'm going to send you an email. It's got way more info than I can fit in my 28-second voicemail. Like, here you go. By the way, it's AJ with X company. Like, that's worth more than not doing anything.
No, that could be a pre-recorded, right?
Yeah,
so it's just
easy.
boom, go. Yeah.
Right. All right, awesome. So since we're all in agreement there, moving on to the next question.
What were you guys getting, by the way, for that? Because just so you know, when we talk to our clients and we go through all the implementation and everything, we got to sell them on leaving voicemails. Even after they see the automation, they're like, no one's going to return them. I said, it's not the point. I don't care if they're not going to return them. Right?
Yeah, I think there are some reps that like sort of look at that statistic and say, well, like I leave voicemails and nobody returns them. I don't leave voicemails and I get a few more calls back, because I think, if somebody calls you and leaves a voicemail and you know who it is and you don't want to call them back, you won't call them back. If a number calls you and you don't know what it is, you're bored one day, you've been getting spammed a lot one day, maybe you want to take your anger out, like maybe you'll give a call back. So that was sort of an answer we got. It's like, obviously I don't totally agree with it, but there is definitely, I think you can get more calls back if you don't leave a voicemail.
Level of intrigue of some kind.
Well, there's also a notion if I leave a voicemail, I can't call you again, right? Or I can't call you right away because I just left that voicemail. So I know there can be particular cadences that people want to follow that maybe wouldn't dictate a voicemail in the beginning.
Yeah.
Some people might say, I'm only going to leave them after you're a client. So, I mean, I know there's different reasons. I just want to make sure that with the technology, people are at least trying some of this stuff at their disposal because it's so easy to do it, right? It's almost like being lazy not to do it, to be honest.
Right. Like,
But you may find out it doesn't work. You may get the data, sorry, AJ, and say, look, it doesn't work for us, but at least you found out.
That's the big thing. Like, I think one of the panelists we had mentioned, like, he bakes in no contacts a couple of times into his cadence because he's found after 8 or 12 touches or whatever, it's easier for him to just call. And if you don't pick up, just hang up and then try again, like in an hour or later that day, instead of leaving the voicemail. Cause like you said, you can't leave the voicemail and then call again an hour later, leave another voicemail. Then it's like, oh, well, that's right.
Yeah, and you may be able to playbook that way. Exactly right. First couple of days, nothing. You get to the fourth day, now you're going to leave a voicemail, right? So it may not be every time, but there is a use for it, no question.
Yeah. If there's data behind it, then it's all good.
100%. Awesome. So now that we're all in agreement on leaving voicemails, like I was saying, I want to dive into the fourth question here, which is really about sort of matching and mirroring the prospect's tone and energy. How important would you say that is, Aaron? And sort of where do you, I don't know, draw the line? I know like sometimes if there's a super negative prospect, obviously you don't want to match them all the way down there, that sort of thing. So love to get your take on that.
Yeah, like obviously we're certainly not going to match any negative or downer type energy. You're going to be yourself and actually hopefully bring up the energy, just like you guys might do on these podcasts. You get a guest who doesn't have the energy, and you guys got to do it, right? So pretty similar. You would do that on calls where you feel like you got to bring it up. But I think it is really important, and I know it's really hard as an SDR, especially for starting. If you're going to call C titles, that you have to be able to kind of step up to their level of not so much energy in that case, but just kind of attitude and that confidence. And they're going to do stuff a lot quicker, and most of them are not going to bullshit. It's pretty much black and white, which makes it easy. But it is maybe a little bit of a different cadence than what you're used to, and you absolutely do have to do it. And the only way you're going to get it is just do it. Just trial and error. Just get it. Have a bunch of crappy calls with CEOs. Hopefully they're not ones that could be good leads. You can come back to them. But I do think it's really important to get comfortable talking to a CEO, and it's a little bit different.
For sure. Yeah. One of the points that a panelist made was that he went into every call with like a 10 out of 10, just like super energetic, like ready to go. And it came off as like weird. And a lot of times if you're you're talking
too salesy almost.
Especially a CEO, if they're like a 4 out of 10 or whatever, they're in the middle of back-to-back meetings and you get them on the phone, they're like, I'm not talking to this guy. He's way too happy. It's clearly an SDR trying to pitch me something. So he talked about like, it is trial and error, like just figuring it out. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you get with it, the better you're going to be reading someone, kind of matching their energy, understanding where they're coming from, and really just like it's part of empathy, right? Like if you can be empathetic, you're going to go a lot further than if you can't.
Once you spend enough time on the phone, I can close my eyes and I can tell, right? I can already tell what your tone is, what's happening, how stressed you are, and then I can instantly take the call in the right direction. So it just takes time to learn that. It's cool once you get to that point, but it's just like anything else. You just got to get in and do it. But it's critical. It is super important.
All right, last question. This one's a big one because we asked our panel and they didn't really have a great answer for it. And I know it's becoming more common, and it's something that we have to talk about more because it's no longer like a niche thing. Video prospecting. Whole video prospecting. Are you a fan? What do you use? And why do you think it's becoming as big as it is?
So I love it. I'm a big fan of video in general. I think that if you're a startup to a smallish type company, video is really your friend because you got to make that prospect comfortable with who you are as a company. And video is one of the best ways to do it. We started using video heavily in our discovery calls a couple of years ago, and it totally changed the conversion. I mean, our conversions almost doubled just by letting, because we're small, right? And we're up against big players, and you have to kind of build that relationship as quick as possible. And video is one of the best ways to do that. It's changed with the pandemic because now we're all on video, so we kind of take it for granted. But prior to the pandemic, it wasn't. So it was a good way, if you were comfortable, to be able to build a relationship really quickly. So number one, I think you have to at a young or a startup type company. Now, when it comes to like prospecting and the video prospecting, like doing a cold call like this, hey, it's Aaron, and you got the sign with a customer's name on it. So with FrontSpin in the cadence, we have an integration with Vidyard, right? Vidyard competes with the other names you mentioned, and with us, it's a free feature. So Vidyard's got a Go Video, little cool little alien as a Chrome extension. It basically becomes a free feature with FrontSpin. So we tell every client, and most clients come into it thinking no, put in one video step in every playbook. Just do one, because it's free, and you'll be surprised to see what happens. So they got to get their base, their sales base comfortable with it. That's part of it. So there's a lot of pieces to this thing, but once again, it kind of comes back to the voicemail. It's so easy to do. It's out there for you for almost free, if not free. Find out, start putting it in different cadences and see how it performs. Maybe you do it for 4 or 5 months and you decide it doesn't work for you at all, but I'd be shocked, because what we've seen in the video with helping us as a small company in general it's been a game changer. So to me, video is a game changer. And if I could cold call people on video, I would do it. If I knew you were going to pick it up like that, like we see in the movies. I don't know which movie had it, but you know how you do that. Everything is a video call.
Yeah. I think, who was it? Someone I know on LinkedIn, who I cannot remember right now, told FaceTimed somebody.
Yeah, like that, like using that.
It worked. And like, it was like, I'm just going to give it a shot. Like, see what happens, 1 for 1. And she was like, all right, well, this is going to be a thing that I do now. I don't know how it's worked since then, but like, to just get a meeting off of a cold FaceTime in 2019, if I told you that, I'd sound like a crazy person.
Right. So what would you think if someone from IBM cold called you versus the non-existent company does the video call, right? I mean, that's how you have to compete. IBM can do the cold call. They know the name. If you hear IBM, it's like, I'm comfortable, right? They're not when it's XYZ, but when they see you, it's just a totally different ballgame.
Yeah. And I think it really points to, we didn't touch on this as another reason to send a voicemail, but right, like putting a voice behind the emails and the calls that you make. Video just takes that a step further, puts a face behind the voice that you leave, right? It's the same thing. I think today's buyers want to know who they're buying from more than ever. And I think it's easier to put yourself out there to let them do that with, making sure your LinkedIn profile page is up to snuff, and things like video where like, this is my face, this is my voice. You know me, like we could go have a beer right now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like different context. So getting the prospect to get to know you, it's like building rapport without even having to have the conversations that you'd have, right? You see my face, boom, rapport built. Like it's a huge step.
And there's so much you can do, right? Because you can video yourself, you can video the screen, right? So it can be, there's all kinds of things, and it can be a combination of the two. Mm-hmm. So if I'm in marketing, and by the way, that's where I think SDR should live. It's for another podcast. I'm playing with this. I'm playing with so much data and reporting and everything. And I'd want the reps to go leave these voicemails so I can get the data, go do these videos so I can leave the data. I'm going to put it all together and say, look, here's the perfect fucking cadence now for this client, or, for this vertical, whatever it is.
Yeah, absolutely. We should be, if you're not doing that, yes, do that. But if marketing isn't touching sales dev in any capacity and they're letting all of that data kind of go to waste, like, what do you do it? That's, again, a whole other podcast topic, but you're right. Like you should be experimenting. You should be even one video in your cadence, just trying to slide it in, see what happens. And then from there, you can get more and more granular, try to figure out why it worked. Can I replicate it? What happens if I do this? It really just, the world is your oyster. Yep. And if video is not part of it, then that's not a good tasting oyster. I lost the analogy, but
yeah. And you're going to find reps. You mentioned it already, AJ. You're going to find reps that, oh my God, they're just suited for video. That's what they should do. And they can. You're going to take maybe they're going to take a different path in your company because they were so good on video, right? It's a thing. It's important.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, those were the 5 questions that we had for you, Aaron. I think we got a good comparison contrast between what, our panel from the SDR point of view thought and what you as a sales leader thinks. Some interesting insights for sure to pull from that I'm guaranteeing you will write a blog about. But any last thoughts about, I don't know, just general cold calling best practices that you might want to impart upon our listeners?
Nah, man, just keep it simple. Just at the end of the day, look, we got all this great technology now. We probably have too much technology because when the person answers the phone or the lights go on, you still got to do the sales job, right? And so that's still the most important part. So don't lose sight of that, you know, and the quicker you get through all this crap of cold calling and everything else and just learn it, the more comfortable you're going to be. And one morning you'll come in and you'll realize you did all these things, kind of like the Karate Kid. I'm like, I just did all that. And it's because, you know, I just was doing it repeatedly prior, and it just kind of, it kind of snaps. So I would just tend to keep it simple and try not to get too wrapped up in everything else.
Love it. Solid advice.
Oh, and last one. Absolutely. Okay. I forgot. This is the most important thing. I've been saying it. I forgot. Be human. So the sooner that you can be yourself, the sooner. It's really hard. I know it's really easy for me because I've been doing it for so long, but the sooner you can decide, I'm going to just be myself, not totally yourself like you are with your buddies, but as close as you can get, the easier this sales job is going to be for you, because then you're more genuine and people will pick up on the fact that you're more genuine. So being yourself and getting to that point where you're comfortable, that's probably one of the more important things.
Yeah. I was going to say before you interrupted yourself that
Sorry.
all of that, to me, what you said kind of culminates in that idea of like, you're so comfortable with the role that you can then be comfortable to be yourself in the role. And that's like that epiphany moment. You've like reached SDR enlightenment, where like you can be a good rep and you can be yourself combined into one thing.
You can. And that's what's beautiful about sales. That's why I love it, because I can do that. I can be me, and guess what? That's also a job. So it's cool. It's really cool.
You said that you know, being human. I've been a human my whole life, as far as I know. So I feel like I've got pretty good practice, and I'm guessing that anyone who's in the SDR role has also been a human their whole life. Just
it's there.
So
just
you
don't
know
use
how to do
it. Yeah, they do. They do. So.
Oh, well, those are two fantastic pieces of advice to leave this on. Aaron, if people want to hear more from you, learn more about you, learn more about FrontSpin, where do they do that?
Yeah, you can go visit me at LinkedIn, Aaron Browning, or you just go to frontspin.com and learn more about the company. Those two of the easiest ways.
Easy. Keep it easy. That's easy.
How about you guys? How do they learn about you guys? I mean, that's the most important thing.
They're
You
on
guys
our podcast already, so they know.
Right. That's right.
No, come check out the Demand Drive LinkedIn page, the Demand Drive website, demanddrive.com. Alex, we have an Instagram and a Twitter.
We have an Instagram.
You manage that stuff.
We have an
TikTok.
Instagram.
Is TikTok a thing yet in our world?
It is.
I as a human being don't really want TikTok. I think me and my 27 years of age are just a little too old.
You're too old for this all of a sudden.
27 is like the perfect age for TikTok. Get out of here.
But I've heard some rumblings. I think a few people have tried to make it work. I don't know to what success, but no Demand Drive TikTok yet. If the people start clamoring for it, though, we'll have to make it happen.
Yes. Well, thanks again, Aaron, for
hopping
on, and hopefully we can talk to you again, maybe on TikTok about this. Who knows?
Anytime, man. I'm always around. As long as I don't have to like sing. I can dance a little, but I'm not sure about the singing part. So
perfect. Alex can sing for us.
Oh boy.